We have in Ireland the tradition of blessing these crosses on this day. We know that this great saint of Kildare, not far from this diocese, is responsible for this. Brigid, according to the tradition, tried to teach the local chieftain the faith using this simple reed cross which she made from what she found on the floor, rather as St. Patrick had done with the shamrock, in his case trying to indicate the nature of the union of three in one. This great saint is an example of hospitality, and she was able to attract and heal by her goodness. And that goodness is still there in the Irish people. Outside this land, we know that the people of the world who know anything about Ireland do tend to remember that there is a kindness there. They're very generous when it comes to disasters. We know that from people who try to connect for various causes. That goodness then is the outworking of the conversion of Ireland through St. Patrick, and through the collaboration of these great saints, men and women, who did calmly let grace have its effect. For grace heals the nation, and grace has an effect on society. We know that up until these last years, when grace was hugely available and present and collaborated with on this land, people lived the Christian life. It was taken for granted, and therefore certain values were there in the people: neighbourliness, helpfulness, generosity, kindness. And even though sin was there also, people knew how to obtain forgiveness. Now, unfortunately, that darkness, the darkness of the Druids, and therefore of Satan himself, which without violence St. Patrick and all his collaborators throughout this land managed to spread and win, this unfortunately is coming back. The demon is coming back, and of course that makes sense. If he finds a little chink, he will come in there, and he does not like these lands conquered for Christ to remain Christ's until the end of time. They were once his, and he has a right, he thinks, over them, and he will get them back. Now on this day, much strange spirituality will be discussed and practiced, because unfortunately Celtic spirituality has become reclaimed and claimed for the wrong ends. There was a Celtic spirituality. It was close to nature in its simplicity and absence of complication, because silence is unchanged, and where we have access to it, as on this island, there is a natural tendency on the soul to be simplified and pacified. But to go then further and to divinize in some way the elements is to go back to some form of paganism. And then when that becomes more complicated still, by being compounded with elements of New Age, then we have precisely a chink where Satan can get back and get back his own. And the alarming thing is that these veiled New Age practices are to be found even now in Catholic structures. many convents, places of retreat, parish centres, allow practices which have the origin in the East to come into the Catholic setting without being, it seems, in the least bit aware of what they are dabbling with, or at least allowing others to dabble in. It is not known, for instance, that the position taken in various forms of yoga are usually linked with some imitation of a Hindu god. And the concentration on the serpent power at the base of the spine is a strange echo of the beginning of Genesis, where the serpent was present. And that serpent was the most cunning of all the beasts of the field, and he is still as cunning. For many years it was impossible for Satan to get back through New Age to a Catholic land, but there has been a collapse in the immune system of many Catholics with regard to this in the last generation, and because of bits of apparent goodness, they refer to as holistic practices, things of another nature come in as well and wreak havoc. It is not known, for instance, the damage that the now very prevalent practice of Reiki or Reiki can do. It is not known by the majority that those who are truly initiated and become Reiki masters are, by the very nature of the formation and initiation process, becoming very available to angels, spirits, not being in the least bit aware that these are fallen angels. And if they have energy, power and means of healing, they have it, yes, in the immediate, but at a price. And places of work, like pubs and so on, which start to host psychic sessions, do not realize that they are actually damaging themselves even on the level of their professional success. For Satan, yes, will, in his terms, bless in the immediate, but at a price, and things then start to go wrong. And if one observes, there is a pattern. Things go wrong, as we say, big time. When these practices come in, it's precisely this old Nick getting his pound of flesh back. Let us turn then to the true energy that we have, that of divine grace, that of the Blessed Trinity, so central to the Celtic saints. Perceived, adored in simplicity and a spirit of tranquility which comes from nature, well cared for beauty also heals, and in a land like Ireland, as in Wales, as also in Scotland, there are huge expanses of natural beauty, uncontaminated. These let us claim for God, that we may find God in this natural desert which we in the Celtic fringe have, corresponding in our own mode to the desert of Egypt, where the saints marched unto glory with a similar radical spirituality. God alone is enough. visited me. In truth I tell you, insofar as you did this to one of the least of these, you did it to me. O blessed communion.